at 7:39 and ask everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call over here. I know that John was out of town. Alan might be joining us later on. If everyone has a copy of the agenda, is there anything that's suggested about additions or deletions?
Motion to accept as written?
Second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, we would have potential open public comment. We don't have anyone here right now. I didn't make sure that the doors were open downstairs, so if someone does come in later on, we can revisit public comment. On the action items is the next order of business, and we have a recommendation to the Township Board on repaving approximately 2,600 square yards of the shoulder along East River, which is used for walking and biking. A little bit of background on this is that there's been road improvements all over Groseal, which is great to see. And as part of the project on East River, we noticed that the vehicular travel lane was paved, but the wide paved shoulder, which is used for people walking and biking, was not. And so we asked, is it possible to still get that done? They said it was a matter of cost. We recognize that they're within a budget over here. And it was a very nominal cost, so we thought that that could be something used from the BPAC perspective in order to better accommodate people walking and biking to make sure that there's no tripping hazards and keep them out of the vehicular lane. So with that, Jameson, is there anything that you would like to add? I know you were doing a little bit of, you've been doing a lot of the coordination for me on this.
Yes, I have it. I'm pulling it up right now. I've got the exact figures, so. So the motion that we would make to the board is that the Groseal Township Board approves a change order with Highway Maintenance and Construction Company at a cost of $3,963.50 for the fogging of the paved shoulder bike path on East River Road between Groseal Parkway and Manchester. I guess before I get into that, anything, was there a second on that? I'll second it.
Okay.
So, so because the paved shoulder on East River was paid for by funds and millage of BPAC, it couldn't be subsequently repaired and fogged using township road millage funding because the road millage funding had a specific mandate attached to it. So I think fog sealing is a great way to preserve the surface and increase the longevity and save taxpayers BPAC millage funding in the long run. So it's kind of a low cost, high impact operation, and it should also be aesthetically pleasing, right? It'll make the side of the road match the road and remove some of the imperfections in the surface. So did you get the value? $3,900.
$63.50, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got the limits on there? I believe you said Manchester to...
Yes, it's Manchester to Groseal Parkway. Yep. And I did look at north of Groseal Parkway where we do have additional BPAC side lane. However, they have not made repairs to the road in that vicinity. So we could still request that it be fogged as well, but we would be doing it ahead of any DPS construction project. So,
Okay.
And I think we would probably fare better in pricing if we did it alongside their projects, kind of how we did this one. So,
Definitely.
Jameson, are we getting stuck with mobilization costs since this is coming in after the fact, or is this fog and stuff still going on throughout the island, so there's not a remobilization?
yeah, we're avoiding the mobilization costs because there's still some road repairs taking place on the island. They do have to kind of leave one area and come over here and do this, but because they're not cutting any of the asphalt, they don't have to move any heavy equipment. So it's
Right, and I mean, if they're on the island, that's the mobilization cost. Moving from one point to the island to another is not really a mobilization cost.
Okay, so yeah, we're saving money there then.
Other questions, comments about the motion in front of you? I'll just add that I know in the past when we did glow rolls, so that was an event where we'd be riding bikes, like both like on the bike paths but on roads. We were down on East River, down towards Hickory Island, the stretch down there. Actually, the stretch which will be covered now by our path with the Gibraltar Bay Connector, but there was injuries along the way because again the shoulder was not paved properly. And, well, I should say it was paved at one time. It's just that it had fallen into neglect.
Mm-hmm.
So again, something like this helps out because most people walking and biking are going to be on that shoulder, and they're more susceptible to potholes, is where vehicles are less so. All right, if there's no further questions about the action, I call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 4-0, motion passes.
One final note along these same lines, Jameson, if you could keep us posted when this next section is actually contract is signed, so that we can get a change order pushed through just like this immediately versus after the fact.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on it. That's a good idea.
All right, next we have discussion items. The first item is the Gibraltar Bay Connector. I know Jameson has some good news on that.
Yeah, I've got kind of a big update. So the Gibraltar Bay Connector, which is the the trail that runs along the inside of the airport perimeter from Grow Road down to the Gibraltar Bay Nature Unit, is complete. They just connected the path to the Grow Road path yesterday. There's still a little bit more work to be done. The airport needs to open the gates along that area and secure some of the gates in the back and verify the new connector is functional. There also needs to be some trimming of the brush along the side of the road to widen the trail a little bit, since it was a utility trail previously. There's going to be bollards installed at the entrance, and the township has submitted for grant reimbursement, but BPAC didn't spend any organic money on it, so I don't think any of it would return to the BPAC fund. And then we also are working on a sign, which will be attached to the fence, and will be addressing the individuals, families, and groups that help support the construction of this project, including the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation, Grosse Ile Municipal Airport, Metro Fund, and the Byers family. And then I know we had spoken about doing a stone epitaph or something like that, that the Byers family was interested in. So I'm talking to the township manager about that, and I think I think it'll be well received. So we're almost there with that, and then it's just the path will be open ahead of a ribbon cutting, but we are still going to try to schedule a ribbon cutting with some of the stakeholders involved, including the Byers family. So I think that'll be a kind of a cool event. Maybe we can even get some of the kids and stuff out there that would make use of the path. So
That's great news, and I did share a lot of that with the Byers family recently, and so as soon as we know a little bit more, I'd be happy to share that with them. I know they'll be happy to hear about that. There was one other thing. Oh, as far as the ribbon cutting, I think that we're tentatively looking for late September on that.
okay.
So again, I know we need to coordinate schedules, but just for the public or anybody that's interested, that's the general time frame that we're shooting for.
I'll add that as a note too. So all in all, I think the hard part's over. It's a great project, and it should be, good trail. So
Awesome. Any questions? Comments? Right, moving on, talk about the Bellevue connector. Again, this would be a sidewalk that would connect from Meridian bike path down Bellevue, going past the Groseal Golf and Country Club and Water's Edge, making connections to both establishments, and then wrapping around West River and connecting into the West River connector with Groseal Parkway. So there's a sidewalk along the path over there. And then coordinating with the city of Trenton on making a sidewalk connection on the other side of the Groseal Free Bridge, so that way we're able to connect directly to Jefferson. So I know that I know where we're at with that is that we wanted to reach out to stakeholders and talk a little bit more about the plans that were submitted. We do have the plans like on aerial photos, so we'll be able to look at that in more detail. Make sure that people are understand what the project is and what it isn't, dispel any fears, and see if there's a need to tweak anything in order to make all parties happy. And so I'd like to begin those conversations shortly. So I know that the country club did reach out to me, and so I did say, hey, we'd love to meet with you as well. So looking forward to connecting with them as well as.
Did we get a date to talk with them?
We have
No?
not.
Okay.
I was checking my email just now to see if something came in. I haven't seen it yet, but
Okay.
a lot of people are on vacation right now.
No,
So
that's fair.
but yeah, I do definitely want to fast track that, because this would be paid for utilizing earmarked funds, or a congressional safety project. And so it's tied to things that are going on all the rest of the downriver. So there's improvements that are happening in Flat Rock and in Gibraltar, in Riverview and Wyandotte. And so this, the timing is great, because this will not cost Groseal taxpayers anything from from the standpoint of capital. The only thing would be preventative maintenance, but again, sidewalks don't have that much maintenance with them. It's just doing good due diligence, crack sealing when necessary. It's something that we could absorb as far as our maintenance fund.
So I did, the other day I did ride part of the Iron Bell Trail and the Downriver Link Greenways, and I don't know how many people have had the opportunity to get out and ride some of those trails, but it's pretty awesome. I mean, they're great trails. You can go from one metro park to another. They're well maintained and kind of through interesting little downtowns and stuff. So being able to link Groseal into that is a pretty good opportunity. In fact, on Saturday and Sunday of this previous weekend, I saw 2 separate Pelotons, or large bike groups. One was a bunch of older folks that were just out cruising the island, having a good time. They weren't from around here. They actually drove here to be able to ride some of our trails. And the other one looked like a group of maybe amateur racers that had actually crossed the bridge and come onto the island. So, we're getting a little bit of, Groseal's getting a little bit of interest from the bicycling community and stuff like that. So being able to give them a means to get on and off the island safely, I think would help out with that. So,
And this would help out with people that don't dress in Lycra. It's the folks
Sure.
that, no offense, Jameson.
As
I
I'm
know
wearing
you're
Lycra.
dressed here. I do that as well. There's some people, like yourself and myself at times, that would feel more comfortable taking the road and negotiating space. But there's other people that prefer to be along the side of the road, potentially in their own dedicated space. So this is helping folks out like that they might be walking, which definitely better to be on a sidewalk, or younger children, again, better to be off the road, because drivers might not even see them. And so this really helps make it for all ages and abilities. That being said, those connections is vital, and I know that the city of Trenton is they're a trail town. They have a trail town master plan, and they're moving forward with economic development based off of that. Same thing with Flat Rock. And if you go to Flat Rock, I know that there's wayfinding signage already put out there near Hurock Park that shows that you're part of the Iron Bell Trail and the Downriver Link Greenways. We're also have this connection for the Great Lakes Way, which will connect Toledo with Port Huron. And so we're kind of in the center of it all, and it just makes sense to try and capitalize off of that if we can. So yeah, more to come on the Bellevue connector, and hopefully in the next couple months here. If there's not any other questions related to that, move on. The next discussion topic is about Meridian road crossings. So as you know, that there are several bike path crossings that are official along the pathway. So we have one right by Meridian Elementary. Obviously, we have one right in front of the Township Hall over here with Grow Road, and then to the north we have one at Ferry, and then two up near Horse Mill. One right at the intersection. And then the other one just north of that. Almost all of those are, there's no actual traffic control related to those, and so there's been safety concerns over the years. I know that the Ferry Road intersection is being redone, and to my knowledge, there will be improvements for people walking and biking along with that. But outstanding, there's still some other crossing locations, and we're hoping to reach out to Wayne County to see if we can look at them holistically, especially in advance of the Free Bridge closing, because we know what that did to traffic and made it much harder for people to cross the road. Jameson, you want to add anything to that?
No, I think what we need to do is look at it as a comprehensive project. I know originally I brought it up as just the crossing at Meridian Elementary because of some input from residents. But I think we probably need a holistic plan and to work with Wayne County for it. So I think just identifying those crossings and getting it over to Ross and DPS probably will get the ball rolling on that.
Besides where the bike paths are at these locations, Church Road should also be put into this mix with the large subdivision and the large population of children in that area, along with Park Lane, for them to get out to the bike path in a safer, more controlled area.
I like the way you're thinking, Wes. That's definitely one that we've talked about, like, long term, like how do we handle Church Road, and if it can't be done in the short term, which again, we'd shoot for that, but are there alternatives? So I know that there's the Anderson cut, so the Anderson Road just south of Church Road, that has less complications because it's not an intersection. You can easily access the path there, as well as thoroughfare farther south. So like all three of those are things that we want to consider and talk to Wayne County and say, hey, which of these three make the most sense, or do a couple of them make sense? Because we know that people might be crossing at multiple locations. So if there's any others that need to be identified and examined, feel free to let us know about that, because we do want to look at it holistically.
I would be a little concerned about the thoroughfare one, because as that comes out to Meridian Road, that's a little bit of a chicane there. That is a blind spot. Anderson Road, Church Road and stuff is basically wide open where you can see down the road.
Yeah, understood. And that's why it's like, there's people out there doing that already. So it's like, okay, if we're saying don't cross there, well, where do we want them to cross? And like, how do we better promote that? So that's what, just looking at it holistically.
I think most people use the thoroughfare cross because thoroughfare is safer to ride your bike on than Church, probably. But that crosswalk is not the safest. Crossing Meridian is not the safest there.
Yeah. So just, okay, if we're going, if people are going to continue to use thoroughfare, something needs to change at that as far as the geometry. And what does that cost? Is that feasible? And if if you can't do it, well, again, what's the alternative? Related to that, again, while Horse Mill itself has the traffic light, which is yellow all the time, at least it's sort of a beacon that lets people know to be expecting traffic in that area. There's no actual traffic control at that location, so you're crossing at your own risk. And then farther north, we have another location where it's just kind of like out in the middle of nowhere, and so it'd be great to have a better crossing over there. But maybe another alternative is, can we examine actually having the path go back on that east side to connect with Horse Mill, and that way people don't even have to cross if they're at that location, unless that's exactly where they needed to go. But generally, people are making that longer movement, going from north to south or south to north, and so they wouldn't have to do that crossing at all. So another thing to look at.
So I'm just taking a couple notes here. So you're saying the thoroughfare crossing is suboptimum because it's at a 45-degree angle to Meridian instead of 90, because it creates a blind spot for people either making a hard left or people cutting off it on the right, correct?
Yeah, it's a sight distance issues.
Okay.
So it's like people walking and biking are less likely to be seen by motorists that might be turning onto thoroughfare from Meridian or going off of it as well. And then I know in that area the road itself is paved, but there's a lot of gravel and other debris, and so if you're on a bike, that you potentially wipe out from that. So there is some concerns with that, but that's where we see most people crossing. So it's like we got to figure out that holistically of like if you're making that movement, can we improve it or is there an alternative?
So I guess if we wanted to take a whack at this, providing a recommendation, we could do, at a future meeting, we could set up like a hour study group ahead of the meeting and just get like a township map and start hitting it with highlighters and pens and stuff like that. We don't have to provide DPS with like a super in-depth high-res image or something. We could just tell them like, hey, these are the things that we see as concerns, and as we go about improving these road systems, maybe we consider this kind of stuff, at least for a first
Yeah.
draft, right?
And either at that meeting or a subsequent meeting, just invite DPS or invite public safety or other stakeholders, so that way it's not just a BPAC thing. It's like we're looking at it as a township.
Yeah, and I think if we had at least something to riff on, that would probably be, it would work pretty well, I think. So
Cool. All right. If there's nothing more on that. Well, first of all, thank you for all your contributions on the topic. Appreciate it. The next three items are more just, again, general discussion and planning purposes. So I have on here about Walk to School Day. The National Walk to School Day is October 4th of 2023. And, historically, we have participated in that, with PAT and, other volunteers. So I just want to see if we as a commission are looking to move forward with that again, if we have the capacity, or if it's something that, we defer for another year.
you said October 4th?
Correct.
What is our, we participate in it, like we show up and walk with kids to school, or what's I haven't done it with you guys.
Sure.
before,
So, in the past, it's been Rebecca and Christine primarily, with a little bit of my assistance. You're just coordinating with the schools and then coordinating with the PAT to, one, get the word out about it, create a flyer for the electronic backpack. So it goes out via email and lets kids know about the day. And then we partner with PAT, and they generally provide swag. So it's like in the past it might have been like, oh, everybody gets glow bracelets, or you might get a coupon. And then recently I think it's been that you get a raffle ticket for when you come up, and then you're put in for that contest, and you might win a little bit more of a prize.
Okay. I don't know if anybody's talked to Christine or Rebecca. I don't know if either one of them are interested in still I know Christine came to school one day and worked with me on something, didn't she? Oh, I'm sorry, you're
me,
Christine.
no.
Jeez. Who was the lady that came?
Probably
to
Wendy.
Wendy.
Yeah, because that's
okay.
who I was.
Okay. I'm sorry.
And I'm in
Christine,
school
Wendy.
on those days because I'm a teacher, but yeah.
Wendy, I think.
I
I don't
bet
know
it
if
was-
anybody wanted to reach out to Wendy or Rebecca and see if they still wanted to participate in that. If they don't, then we could. I suppose one of us would just have to give up the bandwidth for it.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
coordinate with Wendy again. I did in the spring. She said there was still a good turnout, maybe not as much because of the construction going on Meridian, but there was still a decent turnout. She said at Meridian and Park Lane, which is typical, I think.
Mhm.
I think we might want to kind of gauge what the timeframe is for the completion of the Meridian Bridge.
Yeah.
Well, that's true too.
That is still under construction, which there is a chance that their completion date is right around that same.
Mhm.
They're just gonna have to take the long way.
Yeah, it was under construction in the spring when we did it, and there was still a good turnout, especially Meridian, yeah.
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 And I think again, parents and like the kids, they kind of plan accordingly, and so
Yeah.
like well, people that it still makes sense for them, like they still do the event, and if it doesn't, well then obviously they don't.
A lot of the road is shut down for traffic for whoever, various reasons. But you can still get a bike and stuff around there, right? The kids can still get around and use the bike, get onto the bike path off Roller, correct?
Yeah, I don't know
I know until
what they're doing with Ferry now. That's made it a little tricky for some kids, yeah.
Yeah, before Ferry was closed, the detour for people walking and biking was to utilize Ferry and cut over to Lowry
Right.
and make that connection.
Getting through the ferry intersection depends on what kind of bike you have now.
That's right.
Could be pretty gnarly if you've got the right bike.
Okay, so there is interest, we'll reach out to Wendy as well as Rebecca to see about like what type of capacity they have, as well as, BPAC participating. Sounds good. Next item I have on here is about the witch glow roll or other glow rolls. I know that in the past we did glow rolls, Jane Fiegel headed that up. We partnered with Rotary, and it was a great event to be able to promote the use of bike lights as well as other lights when you're at night. So as the days get shorter, but the weather is still a little bit warmer, people are out there, and historically that's where we see more crashes happening. So it's a public education campaign as well as just a fun thing to do for the island. And I know last year there was a witch glow roll.
Yeah, and we had a lot of roadblocks with that, trying to get participation and who wanted to help us with what, and so we limited it to just being down Macomb and then back around Grays and back to the high school. I would like to see it go further, but we didn't have a lot of we didn't get a lot of help, a lot of buy-in. But we had a good turnout. We really did.
There's turnout, then there's demand. So it sounds like it's worthwhile to at least see if there, what capacity there is within the township.
Yeah, I would. We were not able to use the recreation department for a sign up. That was one sort of roadblock that we hit.
Why was that?
I think it was safety reasons, is what they said.
They just
Yeah.
getting all concerned about liability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I'd like to see maybe the police department helping us with some of the crossings, because it's nighttime and it was mostly children, because it was the witches and it was glow and they liked it. We wanted it to be all ages. I think
Yeah.
in the past the glow roll went quite farther, but it was more adults.
So I think we could have a sign up.
And that's what we did last year.
Mhm.
I think we just did some sort of a Google or Sign Up Genius, I think.
Okay. Is there glow rolls currently scheduled?
There is not any others scheduled.
I think glow rolls are cool, so I guess it's a personal crusade for me. So when would be the witch glow roll?
So you've got Paint the Town Red coming up. There's a lot of things coming up. It's really hard to plan. And then we've got the Halloween parade is at the end of the month, right? And then probably that following weekend is Halloween. So that limits us to
Maybe the week between Halloween and looks
Maybe
like Halloween's on like a Tuesday, and the parade's like
usually like the 21st.
Oh, the 21st.
Usually. I'm not sure. We haven't said yet, but it's usually right around the 21st.
I feel like glow rolls are usually on like a Wednesday night or something.
So since we were inviting children, we were kind of sticking it to like the weekend.
The weekend?
But I don't
Okay.
know. It does get dark so much earlier.
What about the parade's the 21st, right?
I believe so. I don't know the
Okay.
date yet. It's usually around then.
You could shoot for the 27th or 28th. And by then the witches will have already
Performed.
parade
yeah.
witched.
Mhm.
Use it as an advertising.
Yeah.
Like pass out the flyers like at the actual parade.
The parade, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grab your Huffy broom and get out here on the 21st or 27th.
Okay, so it sounds like there's interest on that as well. Last item I have under discussion is the spreadsheet of BPAC activities. So hopefully all of you received an email or text message from me. I think I've sent it multiple ways, but it's a Google spreadsheet, and so I've identified all the activities that BPAC has been a part of in some capacity that seem like it's still potentially relevant. I believe that there's like over 35 different activities, and so I don't have access to email the web at the moment, so I can't demonstrate it. But just to let you know, it's like it explains what the activity is by a name, provides a summary, puts the person that is most likely in charge of it, at least at the time being, and then has a series of columns just to give updates. So in September and October, and that way we can move forward and make sure that we're moving forward on some of these activities. And I'm hoping that if you haven't had a chance to take a look at it, that you go look at it, and then maybe we can prioritize what are our top priorities to try and accomplish within the next year.
There's just a couple things on here we didn't touch on this meeting. If you want me to just
Sure.
spout them out, so we can just have a record of it. Hit that. The bike fix-it station. I got to talk to DPS about where that is in both space and time. Traffic counters are still something we talked about that I think we could use, scientifically approach some of our stuff. I kind of wonder if there's a way. Well, I'll talk about that later. Bike and pedestrian plan. So it looks like we are moving forward with securing our master plan consultant. So that's going to start moving forward. There should be a steering committee established soon. I'm going to try to be a member of that in order to represent both BPAC and some of our zoning concerns we've had lately.
Awesome.
And our generation of islanders. So, and then glow roll, witch ride, signage, vegetation. I think the vegetation removal was taken care of on at least the one that I was concerned about up on the north end of the Meridian bike trail.
And that's something that's just ongoing, is like if anybody sees anything out there that needs to get taken care of, get it to one of us, or report it to Township Hall, and we'll make sure that we get the vegetation taken care of.
Yeah, and that's the big stuff that's on here. There's a couple other nitnoid things, but
Yeah. I think the only other thing is identifying what type of capital projects that we want to do, or I should say, maintenance or repair projects that we want to do over the next year. We're getting a little late in the season to do anything now, but we can plan for next spring as far as doing any crack sealing, seal coating, any bridge staining, or any bridge repairs that remain on any of the bridges after Wayne County is done with the Ferry Road project.
so if we were a commission that had a department, a township department, what we would probably do is direct that department to present us a plan, and then we would either make modifications and route it to the township board. We don't have a whole department supporting us, but we do have Ross, so I think a good way to approach that would be to ask him to provide us a overlay of all of the trails that are BPAC responsibility, and then maybe we could start our investigation from there and then do a study session.
Sounds good. All right, is there anything else that we need to bring up as far as discussion topics?
Thoroughfare Bridge deck is going to need to be replaced. We've been putting it off because of this bridge repair of the Meridian Road vehicle bridge.
Which one is that?
One that goes across Thoroughfare Canal by ferry.
Oh, okay.
That was a boardwalk on both sides of the river, or of the channel. Now is only on the north side.
So I think with the ferry bridge replacement, they're integrating a wide sidewalk on it. Is that what you're talking about, the Ferry Road Bridge over Thoroughfare
No,
Canal?
I'm talking about the wooden structure on the wood pilings, boardwalk that goes from the Trenton Channel, or from the Thoroughfare Channel north to Ferry Road.
Oh, you're right. It's not part of the Meridian Bridge. It's after that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I was confused.
That's no problem.
Okay.
Wayne County, in their contract with the Meridian Vehicle Bridge, has demoed approximately 50 feet of it. They're making it wider and taper it into the existing structure. It calls for all deck to be replaced with wood. We need to make a decision if we are going to go with the composite deck like we did on Grove Road as we started replacing these things. If that's the case, then we need to have a motion to present to the Township Board to request a change order to have composite wood versus southern yellow pine put down for that deck. There's no sense having a brand new wood deck in if we're going to replace the rest of it with composite wood.
Okay.
I was going to Wayne County to take that hit at that time versus us ripping up brand new wood. Second thing is they're using the bike path bridge as one of their main modes of pedestrian traffic for their workers and stuff back and forth to their job site. That's also taking a wear and tear on that bridge. I haven't been out there to look at it lately. I've just heard reports that that's what they're using it for movement of stuff and their personnel. If that's the case, we might also be able to look at some cost sharing to replace that deck with Wayne County.
Okay. I'll go take a peep at it, I guess, so I understand, and then,
If you want, I'll meet you out there one day and
Okay.
go over it and explain.
I think we would have to probably try to push that through DPS since they're the ones working with Wayne County on it.
And we'll definitely want to get at least the first, the replacement deck. If as a committee, we are going to flip over to composite wood, we need to get a change order pushed through to have that deck changed to composite that they put down as a replacement.
Okay.
So are you suggesting that Wayne County absorb most of the cost for the composite deck, or are you saying that
On
we would?
the 50 feet they ripped up, it will be a change order.
Okay.
It'll be added to their contract, yeah. And it might be a tough haul, guys, because they're replacing it in kind, and we wanted to replace what our future goals are. So it'd be a negotiation. This was our long-term plan. You can see on Grove Road, we are changing our decks over to this. We will request you to consider putting in this and give us a cost for what the change will be.
Okay.
Do you think that's something that needs a motion from the, from
At this
BPAC?
point, I think Jameson just needs to kind of put some feelers out there to figure out
Yeah, I think
who we need to talk to.
I think to make a motion, we would need to know exactly what we want, and I think right now we need to kind of figure out,
We need to decide whether or not we're going to go to composite on that deck.
and
on
probably
that
figure out
bridge.
how much BPAC maintenance money that's going to cost, right? So,
Well, that thing was slated to be replaced for a couple of years now.
Okay.
And to go to composite, we're looking at a hefty change. We're looking at 6 figures. To tear that off and put it in composite. Putting it off and putting it off, but the wood deck and the top rail on that bridge is basically shot. It needs to be replaced.
okay.
Back when I was doing the maintenance on it, I mean, I piecemealed it for how many years. It was on the table to be replaced, and this bridge on the vehicle bridge came up, and there was no sense putting any money into it. So we knew what Wayne County was going to do.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll talk to Derek with it, and we'll try to formulate a plan of approach. Good catch, Wes.
And, hopefully, we can get, Wayne County to pay a large sum for that, but if there's something that it's like with, Groseal needs to absorb some of the costs, again, maybe we can look into, is there any grant sources? I don't know about, based on the timing, but, again, we've used the Community Foundation with the Ralph C. Wilson funds, both for capital improvements like the Gibraltar Bay Connector, but also for the bridge over here on Grow Road. So like that was with their maintenance fund, and so they actually liked that we were going from wood to a composite because of like how much longer it would last and less maintenance involved with it.
Okay.
All right. Is there any other commission member reports or township board reports?
No, I think we hit the bulk of anything I've been working on during the action item, so.
For commission chair, the one thing I will mention that I did not have on here is that my day job at SEMCOG, we're gearing up for Walk, Bike, Drive Safe, which is a regional campaign about traffic safety and everybody's shared responsibility with traffic safety, whether you're walking, biking, or driving. And so like there will be more of a blitz that happens in the fall. Again, that's usually in October, timed with the increase in more pedestrian fatalities. And it's a regional effort, so it's like while there's common messaging that SEMCOG puts out, they encourage local communities to utilize all of the materials that are available to put out on their own social media or put out on their public access television, swag that they can give out to local communities. And so I encourage Groseal Township to be a part of that. So Jameson, if that is something that you're interested in, I believe just need to send a request form over to SEMCOG as far as getting a bundle of different posters and different swag that can be used. And I know that Brian Friel has utilized some of the videos and some of the social media messaging in the past for doing a great job with communications locally.
Do you have the request form? I realize you don't want to send yourself a request form, so if you send me the request form, I can request it and send it to you.
All right, thank you for that. With that, is there any other anything that needs to be discussed before making a motion for adjournment?
I've seen a lot on social media. People are concerned with the motorized bicycles that are on the bike path, and are there actual rules for that? Could we look into that? Because of the high speed. So some people find it dangerous, and I don't know if there's a law or a rule.
I don't think at this time there's any ordinance about it.
Actually, I believe there is. There's supposed to be it's supposed to be a non-motorized path.
That's true. It is supposed to be a non-motorized path.
Yeah, I can tell you that the DNR and others like statewide have put out guidance basically dividing e-bikes or electronic or electric motor bicycles into 3 different classes. And certain of those classes are by default allowed on all shared use paths, and other ones can only be put on by like a local ordinance. So I'm not going to try and like spell that out right now. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I can point you in the right direction for that. And we might look at that as an ongoing issue, because I know that it's something that's not going away. I know there's a lot of advocacy at the state level and even the national level to do potential federal subsidies for e-bikes because of the good that they do. I say like as for e-bikes, it extends the actual range that people can be bicycling. It gets people out there. There's a lower barrier for mobility, so it's like it might be hard for someone to afford a car, but like they might be able to afford an e-bike, and that can get them to their jobs and be a stepping stone for them. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of good that they can do, but there are those challenges, like you said, related to safety. I was just in New York City, and almost every single bicycle out there was an e-bike. I went to Mackinac Island, and like they're not supposed to have any e-bikes at all out there, and I could see quite a few of those. So it is something that we should probably look at and be proactive. But the devil's in the detail as far as, you know, you can have all the laws on the books, but if we don't have a mechanism for actually enforcing them and the will to do so, then what's the point of having that law? So I think, again, taking a holistic approach systematically, like involving like, you know, public safety and others too, could be helpful with this.
Yeah, I think if we could make a reasonable recommendation to the planning commission about it, that they could gin up an ordinance over it, I think you're going to run into enforcement problems no matter what, because I mean, if you look at a Canyon e-bike and a Canyon mountain bike and a Canyon road bike, they look almost exactly the same, you know.
Yeah.
Especially with the ones that have like hub driven. It might actually be easier to just put a speed limit on the bike path.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, there is technically speed limits, and you know, you don't have the actual posted signs up there, but there's a design speed for shared use paths, and that's why, as I've said before, like with sidewalks, in certain instances, you know, it's safer for you to be like in the road than on a sidewalk, because sidewalks are designed for people going about, you know, 3 miles per hour. You know, a bicycle, you know, easily travels, you know, 10, 15 miles an hour. You put a e-bike on there, you're going between probably 10 and 25 miles an hour. Some of them get up to 40 miles an hour. So like, but yeah, I think speed is the way to go on that. And then you could do the education, but hey, maybe there's an interest in the public safety being able to, you know, have some radar guns out there and occasionally, you know, do a little bit of a blitz and say, hey, you know, if you're going to be on an e-bike on these things, you know, you got to obey the rules of the road or the rules of the path. Thank you for bringing that up. Need to add that to our list. All right. If there's nothing else, call for a, you know, motion for adjournment.
So move.
Motion by Jameson, second by Wes. Call the question. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, meeting closed at 8:26 p.m. Everyone walk, bike, drive safe.